Although I will say,
microsite, which is raveclubs.com/ISE. So this has been the busiest ISE.
hey, this is Kayye. We're at ISE 2025. I stopped by the Excite booth, and we're going to have a little fireside chat here. Excite's in a unique position. If you don't know who they are, go to xyte.io. They're in a unique position because they're providing the industry's only cloud-based management service that basically can work with anyone's software or hardware for that matter, even if they already have a cloud management system or not. As an example, Legrand has adopted Excite to manage all their products for that matter, and you've got a bunch of other partners. I want to introduce you to Gerald, Wintersinger, and Andrew Gross. I'm sure, Andrew, everyone already knows you because you've been the face of Excite for a while.
I appreciate it. I mean, the face of a company sounds pretty nice, but yes, thank you. Yes, Andrew Gross here at Excite. As Gary mentioned, we are providing the industry's first cloud-based standard for monitoring and management, which I'm sure we'll get into in a second.
Yeah. Well, Gerald, I kind of want to start with you. In a way, you're in a unique position because now you've been doing it a couple of years. Excite's been doing. You actually are starting to get some data and some information I think the industry could use with regard to some of the trends in the industry, and kind of I want you to kind of cover those a little bit if you don't mind.
Yeah, Gary, thank you. Of course, we see a trend that's twofold, ever increasing across all industries, across all verticals for the last few years. That is clients focusing more on user experience and actual use of the technology rather than technological trends and features.
Right.
And B, of course, also from a project management and a delivery side, that they want a more streamlined product, a more streamlined solution instead of picking individual bits and bobs from the industry and figuring out how to deliver the best product for the client themselves. So they rather turn to the industry and look for a different solution for that.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is manufacturers are realizing the importance of cloud management and cloud services because they're starting to launch their own platforms, right? And I think the reason why they do that is because they're sort of siloed into their own brand. So if you look at a projector company, whoever it might be, they're gonna have the ability to manage their projectors across the cloud. But what the advantage that you bring is you can plug into that, but then allow them, because in the real world, the customer is actually going to want to manage the whole system, Andrew, not just the projectors. Of course, they want the information when the lamp's going to go bad, if we're having a problem in the room, but they also want to know, is the rest of the room healthy? And you can go beyond that because you can also provide the analytics that tells us how the room's being used, which actually would in turn drive sales.
It's true, and I think what Gerald brought up, from his position at Maycom, being able to hear from customers that they don't want to be locked into closed systems. They want flexibility.
Right.
They want the ability to work within an integrated environment, flexibly at least, to move not just from systems, but also the ability to gather data across the different systems because they're interoperable.
Right.
A projector connected to a control system, connected to a touch panel, connected to a light switch, all affects the operations of that room. But when you're siloed off in the way that you accumulate data, the way that you view data, the way that you analyze data, you're not able to see the total picture. And I think Maycom sees this in what's getting feedback from your customers is that I need to know how these rooms are working, not how my devices are working. And so we've taken that to heart in building out new features within Excite of, look, no matter what it is in your space, you care about this space and the way that it brings value to your customer, which is the people actually walking in that room. And you should be able to see what's happening in the space itself, regardless of manufacturer, and monitor and manage it and keep it always on, always up to date, and always secure. And that's what we're looking to bring.
When do you think, you're obviously integrating this now, and your clients are giving you feedback, when do you think it'll be just a natural that everything will be managed across the cloud?
I think it's already happening. We see it, and it's probably only a few years down the line. It's all part of that seamless experience that Andrew is talking about. That also for us from a consulting perspective, of course, this is extremely important because if we can work with the industry together in a partnership and get those data on how actually the spaces are used and how the devices are used and how good the service actually is, it also enables us to do a better and more holistic consulting approach, which we certainly did for 2 years now being part of Dresden Sommer. We focus more on the spaces, for example, and less on individual AV technology. We certainly have that expertise, but having those data and working together with partners to deliver also better consulting expertise is also important for us, of course.
But I feel like that the next generation of consulting is going to be on this data that you're gathering.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we need to widen our perspective a bit. We are an industry that for the last 10, 15 years has been pretty boxed in ourselves into our individual silos like manufacturers, integrators, distributors, consultants. And if we see our industry ourselves more as a partnership to deliver those holistic experiences for the clients, I think we can only win. And certainly the cloud-based management is a very big part in that.
Andrew, I think that indirectly, I think one of the things that's helping the concept of managing things across the cloud is Copilot, as an example, because it is a cloud, it's a thing that just appeared out of nowhere. No one really thinks about where it came from, but guess what? It's coming from the cloud, right? It's coming from the internet. It's coming from the devices that are connected to the internet. And, you know, all things AI, really. I think AI is going to ultimately help drive the concept of selling services or the concept of managing via services, because we have, as you alluded to, been a hardware-driven market for decades.
And being hardware-driven it's a problem, but it isn't, right? Because hardware still needs to be the medium to deliver all these incredible services and software, but it's about focusing the value on it being software-defined through the great hardware that the industry has. Hardware's not going anywhere, right? So anyway, you bring up a great point about this AI revolution you're seeing across the workplace that we're a part of. And on that same topic, you know, we saw this huge shift just in the last couple of weeks in the news about DeepSeek, right? Yeah. Overtaking OpenAI in the App Store and being the number one user. The big thing with DeepSeek was that it was building out the first sort of AI ecosystem. What does that really mean? It means that multiple people in an open source environment were able to contribute to its engine. I would argue that Excite is no different in the fact that we're looking to build this cloud standard. And you as a manufacturer in this industry can contribute to that cloud standard by a manufacturer working directly with us, like Legrand, like a cloud-to-cloud partner like QSC, Crestron, and Biamp, or as an integrator, writing your own drivers. And what it does in the end result, the same way DeepSeek provided this in generative chat with AI, is a much better solution for users and consultants to gather data and act on everything. And that's really what we're building here in the cloud standard.
And so, this is going to be, I seriously need a smart answer on this one, because this is a complicated question. I don't think we're at a place where clients are asking for cloud-based management on a regular, everyday basis. So what is the pitch? How do you explain the value of this? If I'm an integrator watching this and I don't really even understand it myself, what is the value and how do you actually explain this?
That's a great question, Gary. Actually, I think it's very simple in the end. It's about focusing on user experience. It's about focusing on value for money, scalability of the projects, and also a big part that has to do with all these analytics components and all of end-of-life management that Andrew is doing, sustainability. I mean, if you can manage your technology more on a value-based basis and thinking about life cycles rather than buying everything in and having to throw it away for 6-7 years, that's a huge factor, and clients are actually actively asking for that. You're perfectly right. They're not asking us for the way we do it. That's something we need to provide. We need to provide those benefits. We need to think sustainability. We need to think user centricity. That's it. That's the challenge.
So basically, we're calling it cloud-based management services, but really what they want is, how are we going to make this work in the future and not have to worry about it?
Exactly. They want an end-to-end solution.
Right.
They want the right solution for their requirements, being it in workplace, signage, whatever. You can pull up any topic, and they want it sustainable and they want it flexible. And that's what they want. And if we can deliver that based on tools like Excite, based on our partnership in the industry, then we're there, we're in the spot.
Okay, so where are we with adoption as an industry? Like, where are we? I mean, we're still in the beginnings. How quickly is this going to happen? And if I'm an integrator watching this, or a manufacturer, a lot of manufacturers watch it, how do they jump in and come aboard?
We're never at a final state, and that'll never happen, right? Because there's always going to be manufacturers that are going to be popping up.
But are we at 5%, 2%, 10%? Where are we right now?
We're still in the early days. We are. And it's not because of what's available in the product or anything. It's a matter of the industry making this shift to, we say cloud monitoring, cloud management, moving to the cloud, that's one way, but it's about making their devices more accessible, right? Because as we talked about, there's multiple ways that people can make the data that their devices are collecting accessible, whether working directly with us, opening up their own cloud, or having their integrators write custom modules. It doesn't matter to us. But the community, I would be more focused on not just where we're at today, but actually the delta between what we saw last year and this year. And that is night and day. I mean, we've seen a 100% change in companies launching their own cloud, companies using our system to launch their cloud, and integrators supporting them. That's been
and that actually will ironically, that'll benefit you because ultimately you're providing a single pane of glass layer on top of whatever they do. It doesn't really matter if they have their own cloud management service or if they just choose to adopt your service.
Exactly.
That you can still layer on top of that. That's I think a key point, is that you're not trying to convince, although I'm sure in your mind you'd love to convince every manufacturer to use Excite, but if they already have a cloud management service, more power to them because you can layer on top of that.
Absolutely. We never tell any manufacturer that, hey, you built this great cloud system, throw it out, use ours. That would never be the case. Our goal is to make it easier and better for you, right? Keep your front end, keep your brand in front of your customers, but some of your customers, arguably most, are going to want your device to be integrated and communicable and managed and monitored next to something else in this integrated world. And working with us to allow that on top of or behind of what you've built is the best case.
Yeah, and you can learn more about that at excite.io, XYTE.io. Gerald, thank you very much for doing it. And congratulations, you've always, as a company, MICOM's always been a pioneer in this. But I think but also you're on the leading edge of this. And I think it's interesting, your competitors should be reflecting you rather than competing with you.
Absolutely, they should, and I think we should move the industry ahead together and not using those trend topics like analytics, AI for the benefit of our client, and we can only win, really.
And if they want to learn more about your services, where do they go?
They go to www.macom.de. MACOMD.
Yeah, MACOM.de to learn more about MICOM. And if you need a design consultant, there you go. You got great access to a great engineer. And then Andrew, thank you very much for putting this together. I appreciate the ability to use your booth to do this. And I'm more power to you, because the faster this happens, the better for our industry, because the more services we offer, the better we get as an industry.
We do, and it's, as Gary mentioned, if you go to excite.io, you can find out all the information about what we do and Connect Plus and being part of that ecosystem. But it is finally, in my eyes, the industry's first cloud standard that's going to support everyone from manufacturers to dealers to consultants to system providers, but also end users.
Yeah, and I talked about Excite extensively in my Crystal Ball webinar last month. If you haven't had a chance to check that out, go to launch.com, LAVNCH.com, and check that out. It's my Crystal Ball webinar that I did last month. Thanks for joining us. We got a lot more to cover at ISE 2025. All of our coverage is at ravepub.com/ISE.